Good evening. We are live. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. And I'm joined tonight by a special repeat guest, Miss Chloe McLeod. Chloe, how are you?
I'm here, attorney. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, since we had you on last time, what's been happening?
What's been happening is I have finally met my new caseworker, third caseworker. Last caseworker went on maternity leave, but expressed on numerous occasions how she was looking to get another occupation.
So, but what's happening different in your case, if anything?
Not not really good news, but I have yet to be able to make active contact with my attorney after multiple electronic and telephonic attempts. Since I have last spoken to you, I have done homework and have been more attentive and grasping the gift of shut up. I have, give me just a second. All I'm missing pretty much is a binder, but I have my first secret weapon in the How to Fight CPS and Win attorney Vince Davis 101 class. The manila folders. I have my tabs that is going to be in my binder. So far, I have pretty much I pretty much have the first caseworker a tab made, on second caseworker, both supervisors of these different caseworkers. I have the most recent judicial review. I have several electronic copies that need to be printed, and I have my stuff organized from the hospitals that I have seen during the pregnancies that I've had while the case was open. So I pretty much have everything at a standstill and ready to be printed. I have began printing last night. It's a nice amount of pages. So beyond maybe needing one more, needing a binder and needing maybe another separate uh, manila folders, I am pretty much set to go as far as, Your Honor, this is what's going on the back end. This is what's not being said. Here's the black and white.
So, what do you plan on doing?
I I honestly have a huge question mark. I have had a history of being impulsive, and I just want to move with wisdom. I just want my children. The last time we spoke, I was also explaining that I have two cases in two different states.
What do you mean? How can you have two cases in different states?
I am here in Hillsboro. It originated in 21 in Hillsboro. Completed the case plan 4 months in, uh, and pretty much from then until now have experienced arson, gun violence, homelessness, two hurricanes in 1 month, two car accidents, and pretty much also was paying out of pocket day by day for hotels. And I am a very big couponer. So apparently, the receipt in my invoice went to another area of their system at the Roadway Inn slash Choice Hotels that I was at. He picked up the phone, called the police. The police got there. I'm showing the police on my iPad, hey, I did pay. You know, you guys are bombarding me, trying to run it. I'm pregnant. I've gone through a lot, but I have paid. So after I was about to be threatened to be arrested, that's when the person from the front desk came up and brought the receipt up, in which, as a 7 months high risk pregnant woman, I still had to leave. I did not get assistance with my several bags going down the 3 flights of stairs. And I was told that I was now trespassed. The location of this place is right next door to a Waffle House where a couple was nice enough to allow me to sleep in their car that night. I could not get a refund on site of cash because I paid through debit, so I had to wait for it to be reversed back to my card. Next morning, the police was called again. They was trying to say that I was trespassing, but on a legal and technical term, I was technically on Waffle House's property. This officer helped me move my bags from their uh, their property to next door Waffle House, by where I was sitting at in the shade. He tried every resource avenue as I had been attempting to do so before even being fully placed into that situation, still awaiting help from FEMA, and was very much so unsuccessful in finding me anywhere to go, having to leave me there. And um, I pretty much have endured this type of thing as I wrote it down last night on 6 occasions. I am trespassed and banned from 6 different motels and hotels from either a $5 shortage, $10 shortage, $20 shortage, or not being short at all and it just not showing in the accurate placing. Police could not find me anywhere to stay. Therefore, after going through a a lot of different links to find some type of sheltering, um, pretty much had moved to Georgia where I was trying to have another opportunity at just getting stabilized. I went to Valdosta. I started going to the hospital there, and I was walking a little bit of a pace, and I would give out of breath. Now, this is somewhat normal during pregnancy, but not to the point to where I feel as if I'm about to collapse. I have a history of congestive heart failure, and it wasn't until I got to my sister-in-law's residence in Albany that it was discovered that my son was almost 10 pounds, along with him being a son, because we was under the impression that he was a girl, and that his foot was on my trachea, which they immediately induced me, and I had the baby, only to discover that the phone had been picked up for DFACS, which is Georgia's Child Protective Services, and in which was explaining pretty much. I'm assuming that this came from Florida. It had not came from Florida. It had came from a doctor in Valdosta at the Valdosta South Georgia Medical Center. I had explained to her how I had pretty much endured some homelessness, and I also explained to her that I was in Georgia after being flooded out my home and not finding anywhere to stay for several months at a time. From there, after I had my son, I pretty much was told that I wasn't going to have my baby removed. They just wanted to make sure that I wasn't in the same state of homelessness as I was in Florida, only for my son to have to be placed into the NICU. They was saying something about possibly have transmitted something to him on a STD basis, which was baffling to me because I had been tested for numerous different things and nothing ever has came about. After he was cleared and released, that's when the DFACS came in and she spoke to me. I told her everything that I had been enduring in Florida for the last past year and a half, 2 years. I called my caseworker and, kind of freshly dropped the bomb. Hey, I just had a baby. This is what's going on. I really don't want to lose my baby. Here is the DFACS investigator's number that wants to speak with you. Florida gave up jurisdiction. I was able to go home with my baby and be the parent for the first time in about 2 or 3 years, and was pretty much told that it would be an open investigation and I was just to cooperate with DFACS. My sister-in-law was present when she came. The things that she said in the hospital that needed to be done during her investigations compared to what she did and said when she got there was night and day, including antagonizing a 3-year-old in a closed door, asking the child, could he list all the household members that stayed there? And it on my other nephew's birthday, and it just was an absolute disaster. Before she left, my sister-in-law asked her, is this a case or is this an investigation? She said it was a case, but in technicality, from what I have learned from Florida, it was an investigation with in-home services. Otherwise, the child would have been sheltered. So the plan was, from my understanding at that time, was for her to provide me with a playpen. She brought an inaccurate playpen for my baby size. She went back and returned it to the office and came back. And pretty much from there, she stated that she needed to submit a referral to her supervisor for approval for a parenting index that would take place in a week, maybe 2 weeks tops. And from there, it would be closed out. My sister in law asked her, could I visit Florida? She said yes. Now, from there to now, I have been going through trouble for the last past year, actually, with identity theft and fraud with Verizon, to the severity of missing Zoom court because of my lack of service with Verizon, to the severity of my phone not only being broken and damaged and not being able to have it replaced as quickly as possible because of the insurance or something that had apparently had happened without my knowledge or consent, but to a place of, oh well, why did you leave Georgia? You wasn't supposed to leave. And I'm just like, I came down here not only to visit, but I had other endeavors to take care of in Florida. I'm not moving. I never said I was moving. I got your permission to leave. So as my phone broke, locked out of iCloud, she contacted her supervisor. I spoke to the supervisor and told her the story of how me and her colleague had not seen eye to eye since I was spoken about with one thing in the hospital and did a whole nother separate entity when she got to my sister-in-law's home, and how I had pretty much gotten permission from her to leave the state visiting, not moving. And she knew this before she left my sister-in-law's home. And it was on pretty much the now is it's been a series of unfortunate events to the point in severity where they went to North Florida where my mother stays and spoke with her and asked her about my whereabouts and my youngest baby. She told them she didn't know. She gave them my phone number. I tried to make contact with the young lady. She didn't answer for a few occasions. Blew her phone up, text. I'm using text now at this point off of another device. And she's finally made contact with me. I'm speaking with her. I'm telling her what's going on. I'm telling her what happened. I'm telling her I haven't moved back to Florida, but I do, had business to take care of because I wanted to see, first off, I'm glad I was able to have my baby, but I have four other children with the open case in Florida. I need to see what's going on with that. And I also wanted to purchase a vehicle because I had just gotten my taxes kind of late and wasn't able to find a vehicle in the North Georgia, South Florida. I wasn't able to find a vehicle in my price range at all there. Mind you, had permission from this investigator who I am now discovering is fairly new to the DFACS team. And now it has been made to have been seen that I'm not cooperating with the state of Georgia. I'm not cooperating with the state of Florida. I have an open case. And it was to the severity of helicopters flying above my mother in law's home and pretty much almost had kidnapping charges, and pretty much being told that they was wanting to do uh, a check-in or a whatever that term is, to see the child and see you, whatever. The Tampa Police Department contacted me, um, and it's literally just been an absolute headache and nightmare. The paperwork that I have recently gotten, and I did have an opportunity on that second day when the court came about to give a 5 minute brief summary to the judge, letting them know, hey, I had these type of things going on, and I actually have footage from body camera from your sheriff's department and police department that could not help me in my situation. I was not running from Florida. If I had nowhere to go, if I had nowhere to stay, if I had a shelter that could not help me well before the pregnancy was even discovered, what does someone do? I even have where I have reached out to the investigators from one county in Florida, the investigator that was here in Florida. You said you was coming just to see the baby, talk to me, and leave. You came with 12 different officers, asked me and my husband to submit to a drug screen. My husband denied. I submit to the drug screen. You check my mother-in-law's bathroom. You have me do a drug screen and the doors open and you're by the door and the officer, one of the officers is by the door. I submit to the drug screen. You go to court and say that I altered the drug screen, even though it was negative. You take my kid, even though you said you pretty much wasn't. Like, I was told Florida had no jurisdiction, to the point to where both attorneys, one attorney was my husband's, the other attorney was stepping in for the attorney that I haven't even met, stating that they are not understanding why this child had been removed if Florida gave up jurisdiction. So now I'm fighting TPR. Now I'm not sleeping. It's a lot of different things going on. I just it's overlapping cases. This is what I was also trying to explain. I have Rosie the nosy neighbor, who had been calling the police on me in my apartment, completed my case plan, attorney 4 months in. Before I gave birth to my son on June the 6th, my case plan was completed. We had a year of housing paid up from Catholic Charities Rapid Rehousing. I did have THC in my system, but when my mother-in-law spoke to the supervisor told her that he would be okay with her, after she asked, doing in-home services by moving into our apartment, having custody, but me still being able to bond with my son and breastfeed and whatnot. Case plan was completed. And like I said, sir, it's overlapping cases. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and the news and the stories just get better and better.
Or worse and worse. Jesus.
Well, I want to thank you for that update when from last week on the show, Chloe. Are there any specific questions you want to ask me this evening? Chloe?
Yes, sir. I was looking over notes to see what would be the best question to ask first. So I'm just going to start off with the 2021 issue. If the parents, yes, I was smart mouth. Yes, I was frustrated. Yes, I've been very much so outspoken, but I've never been so difficult to the point to where the case plan was never completed. Day one, it was jumped on, and I was high risk pregnant working 2 jobs. Case plan completed under 6 months time. Housing, lights, water, 2 jobs, a vehicle. My husband was working. He even volunteered and did anger management and wasn't never court ordered to do so. Even if I did have THC in my system, I did not know I was pregnant. First off, that's not being cared about. You got the doctor who called and said, "Oh, she said she had ice cream and hot dogs every day and smoked every day." I didn't tell you no such thing like that. My question for that is, what do you do if you already completed the original case plan? They've revised the case plan for myself so many different times. They're overlapping the fact that I'm still human, life. Let me tell you how I'm just looking to get shot. Let me tell you how I'm looking to come home and find someone that tried to burn my house down. I don't know what to ask, to be honest with you, or what to do. Like, the case plan originally was completed in May of 2021. I should not even be talking to you about this unless I was testifying.
Do you have a lawyer?
On paperwork.
Are you able to get another lawyer?
Financially, unless beyond the car accident in the Uber and the negligent security and the conflict of interest with this case and Rosie the nosy neighbor of the defamation of character, I have data breach, security, money muling, where I didn't even get paid on the job and just now finding out where my identity has been broken. Attorney, I don't even know where to start at. I feel like JG Wentworth is my money and I need it now. I just don't know where to start.
You didn't answer my question though.
No. No. That's a I might be sitting on a settlement, but I don't have an actual lawyer that I can pay out of pocket at the moment right now.
Okay, fair enough. Do they have any free legal services in your state?
I call them public pretenders. This is one, two, three. This is attorney number four. Attorney number four not only did not show up to the first court case, but he has not responded to emails. He did not show up to the staffings because our case is so severe that attorneys need to be present to staffings. I have reached out to the Florida Bar. I have reached out to several different attorneys, and I'm being told that even after I have done 90% of the legwork and paperwork just to be able to pass along files physically or electronically, it's too much of a hassle and I'm broke. And I'm not, I'm like, well, could you take my case and take the other cases and just take the payments from those cases? Because I don't want compensation. I want my children. I want justice.
Well, you know what? You just said something that probably is contradictory in your case. You said you want your children and you want justice. That's like when I ask people, do you want to win or do you want to be right? Because you can't have both. So which do you want, justice or your kids?
I want my kids, and I'm just hoping that justice would prevail as the case would transpire, whomever would take it, because truth be told, it's so severe in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. It's Jewish Families Gulf Coast Network, aka Children's Home Network. They're facing a 28 family class action lawsuit to the severity that the state of Florida has dropped them.
Hey, Chloe,
Yes, sir.
how honest do you want me to be with you?
Blunt.
You sure?
Hold on. Yeah. Hold on, people. Get the children out of the room.
Chloe, we've talked twice now. Okay. And I can tell just from my experience as a lawyer for 37 years, doing these CPS cases for about 34 years, you're down the wrong track. You're heading down the wrong track. You don't have to take notes because this tape will be on the internet forever on about 8 different websites or Facebook pages and YouTube. So don't take notes. Listen. You know, many years ago, I went to the Jerry Spence Trial Lawyers College in Wyoming, and one of the first things that I learned there was how to listen. You'd be surprised how much I learned how to listen as a 40-something-year-old, I think. You think by the age of 40, 50, you know how to listen. Guess what? I was a terrible listener. And it's amplified when you're trying to be a lawyer, a trial lawyer, and you're a bad listener. When we get off this show, I want you to Google active listening and start reading that. Now, the reason why I mention that is because I think that it's hampering your ability to get your children back. And, you know, everybody's different. Everybody's different. Nobody has the same case. Everybody thinks they have the same case and they're just being screwed by CPS.
Mm-hmm.
That probably is true, but the way to remedy it is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you right now how you can remedy it and substantially increase the probability of you getting your children back. Number one, you're going to have to learn how to listen. And that means do less talking and more listening. Now, the first time that we met and we spoke online, and now this time, One of the things I can tell about you is you seem intelligent, very well spoken. If you were running for some type of political office or community leader, you'd do great. But that skill doesn't translate into winning in a court case. I don't know if that makes sense to you. So you have to turn your attention and your skills into winning, not seeking justice. Because, you know, I hate to say this, and I'm a lawyer, but most people's sense of justice is not justice in the courtroom. You know, I did a video, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called What is Justice? Because it's not what you think it is. I know in your heart of hearts, in your 35 years of living, or however old you are, you think you know what justice is. And you probably do in terms of yourself and your family and your community. But I can tell that you probably have very little idea about what is justice inside the courtroom. So you're going into the courtroom and you don't even know the rules. Now, the last time I said this, someone got really upset at me, but I'm going to say it because I think I need to. Did you know that I'm half African American and half Japanese?
No, sir.
I was raised by my African American grandparents in South Central Los Angeles. Okay? The reason why I'm telling you that is because I'm going to say something about race. And I don't think you're going to like it. It is important to know how you are perceived by other people,
Yes, sir.
like the judge, like the attorneys. Okay, that's really important. And I'm not sure that you know how you're perceived as a Black woman. You know, is there prejudice in our society? Yeah. Now, are you going to use this case to try to solve that problem in society? Because you're not going to do that. So you must understand who your audience is. You ever hear that before when you're speaking or trying to do something? You have to understand who the audience is because they're making the decision, not you. And everybody tells me, well, the law says this and the Constitution says that and blah, 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 blah. That don't mean squat in the courtroom. I'm sorry to say that, but it doesn't.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you ever been in a situation where you wanted something from somebody like a friend of yours or a relative? You ever been in that situation in your life? Okay. You know, have you ever noticed that when you're really friendly to that person, that you get what you want more times than when you're really angry at that person? You ever notice that? It's kind of like a human condition.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes you're really angry at someone and you think to yourself, this person's an asshole. But you don't say that to the person because you know you're not going to get what you want. You ever do that?
Yep.
Right. I know you have.
Absolutely.
Why do you think it's different in the courtroom?
Is this rhetorical?
No. Because it's not different. You know why it's not different? It's
Humble
because
is away.
you're dealing with human beings. Now, there's human beings in your family, there's human beings in your friends, there's human beings at work, there's human beings inside the courtroom. I feel comfortable telling you this for many reasons. One of the reasons is how I was raised by my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, who was African American. She grew up, she was born, I think, like in the early 1900s. And she grew up in the South.
Mm.
Now, you might know this because of your experiences, but around the 1900s through the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, that wasn't a good place to be Black. And I'm sure that you will agree that some of those prejudices still haunt us today. You're not going to change that. Not in this case, anyway. So now, knowing all of that, how should you be coming at people, social workers, judges, your attorney? How should you be coming at people when you are trying to get your kids back? That's a rhetorical question because I think you know the answer. I've said this many times on this show. These cases aren't won in the courtroom. They're won outside the courtroom. Someone reminded me not too long ago, something that I knew but had forgotten the importance of. In order to persuade someone, like a social worker, you have to have a relationship with that social worker. You have to beat the social worker. Now, what's the easiest way to beat them? Make them sympathetic towards you. Make them friendly towards you. I can tell you the way not to beat them. Get up in their face and recite chapter and verse of the United States Constitution. It's not going to go over well. It's just not. I'm involved in a case now, and we gave closing arguments recently. And one of the things I argued to the judge was that the social worker who started the case didn't really want to start the case. She started the case because she was ordered to by higher ups. And when she came to testify, she was very, very pro. Her testimony helped the parents a lot, in my opinion.
Wow.
Okay? Now, the reason why she testified that way was because of the relationship or interaction. They weren't friends, but the interaction between the parents and the social worker at the beginning of the case. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So those are some of the things that you have to consider. Now, do social workers ever lie about something? Yeah, they do. But it's not your job to try to call them out on it. Give it to your attorney and let him or her prove it in court. You don't have to get up in their face and throw it in their face, because I will assure you that they will bend over backwards to try to prove that their lie is the truth.
Absolutely.
That's what people do. That's how people react to each other. I'm in another case right now. It's not a CPS case. It's another type of civil case where the opposing attorney is always yelling at me. Always yelling at me. And I'm always calm with her. And I recently told her, I said, I hope you don't think that I'm making personal attacks against you or your client, because I'm not. I'm a zealous advocate, and I'm just trying to protect my client's rights. But because you don't like it, please don't yell at me. Don't call me names, and say things of that nature. because, you know, the law requires attorneys to be civil to each other. That's actually a law. So I'm civil with her, she's not civil with me. And, you know, I put that in an email. I think she realized what I was doing, and she realized she thought she knew what I was doing as well. And that was basically trying to set her up in a case. But I wasn't. I'm just saying, hey, you know, this is my profession. I realize that's your profession. You're doing your job. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't turn around and sue her if she screwed up and violated my client's rights. But I'm nice about it. You know what I mean? I'm nice about it. And a lot of people call me and want to sue social workers. And everybody thinks they have the greatest case in the world. But one of the things I do before I decide to take a case is I evaluate the person that they want, you know, that wants me to represent them. Because I got to spend thousands of hours on your case. I got to put you in front of 12 men and women that we don't even know yet. And they have to like you. Because if they don't like you, they're not going to vote for you as being winning, and they're not going to give you a lot of money. I told this story before. It was a case in Las Vegas, I think, Nevada. I wasn't on the case, but I was following it as a young attorney. A mother, a father, and two children sued the CPS in Nevada. They won. You know how much the
You think
jury
they was
awarded?
gonna win
Did I think they were going to win?
when you took the case?
It wasn't my case.
He was just following it.
I was just following the case. I knew one of the attorneys involved in it.
Okay.
They won. You know how much the jury awarded them? The jury found that their civil rights were violated by the social worker. How much do you think the jury awarded them?
Okay, because I'm about to say I don't know.
How much do you think how much do you think four people should get if the jury finds that the social worker violated their constitutional rights?
Beyond the constitutional rights being violated, I think the big factor plays into the time frame. So possibly under $1 million.
Give me a number.
600,000
Okay.
before the fees.
They were awarded $100. It was either 100 or 1,000, something like that. Okay. Now, do you want me to tell you why?
Absolutely.
They didn't like the plaintiffs.
Yep.
The plaintiffs were right on the law, but the law doesn't say how much you should get.
Mm-hmm.
That's the jury's decision, and you know, if the jury doesn't like you,
Right.
Wow.
okay. So let's say I'm wrong on the 100 and it was 1,000. That means each of the four people got $250 for a case that took like almost 2 years. They would have done better working at McDonald's.
But they got custody of their children back.
Oh yeah. But my
From what
point
you
is,
know, okay, go
but my
ahead.
point is, how do people react to you in the courtroom? You
I
know,
have a question.
yeah.
My question is if the odds, unfortunately, in my opinion, was highly against me past just the paperwork of the allegations with this in particular social worker. I presented, now mind you, mentally and physically and on paper, all of that stuff is kind of out the window, but pretty much was very humble to the first beginning caseworker. And I don't believe, as you said, that I don't believe she wanted my case. She pretty much was on the verge of a promotion anyway. So I was already told from jump she wasn't going to be my caseworker for long.
What's your question?
My question is, from then till now, if I have made a consistent effort changing that narrative, that beginning first narrative is what they're keeping in mind.
Okay, so here we go again. I said, what is your question? Now, questions begin with what, why, how, where.
Do you believe, if I have changed that narrative,
No,
that
I don't believe that. And I don't know, but I'm just basing upon my 2 interactions with you. So I can, you know, I don't do this. I don't bullshit people. You know. Now, here's the good thing. If you have a certain attorney, probably one that has gone through something like the Trial Lawyers College or Trial Lawyers University, your attorney would work with you to make you come across as a good witness in front of the jury. I remember a case. I was in a seminar, a trial lawyers seminar, with a bunch of people that were graduates of the Spence College. And one of the presenters was wanted to show us what we should be doing to prepare a witness for testimony in a jury trial. Different in a judge trial, but in a jury trial. Okay, I have been a lawyer 25 years, maybe even longer. And I didn't know what they were teaching. For a jury trial now. So, one of the things is, people, my clients always say to me, Mr. Davis, what should I say? What do you mean, what should you say? You should just tell the truth and leave it at that. Well, don't you want me to prepare me what to say? I can't tell you what to say. Right? You've told me what happened. There's some strong parts about that. There's some weak parts about it. But like Jerry Spence says, embrace the weak parts of your case. Love them and hug them, because no case is 100% perfect. Every case has chinks. You can still win with the chinks in the armor, because you just have to persuade a judge or a jury. You can, here's something interesting. Chloe, do you believe this, that you can convince a human being of anything? You can. Some people call it brainwashing. Some people call it the Stockholm syndrome. But it's a fact. Especially with your presentation. Especially with media today. So you can become the person that you need to become to be a winner in this case and get your kids back. Are you going to have to make changes inside? Yes. Is it worth making changes inside? Yes, if you want your children back. Can you get even later in federal court under a civil rights case? Yes. But that's later. A lot of people, not a lot these days, but people call me and say, "Hey, I have a CPS case. I don't want you to represent me in my CPS case. I want you to sue the social worker, even though I don't have the kids, because that's going to make them give me my kids back." And then I tell them, "No, that's not true. Where'd you get that strategy from?" I thought about it myself. Okay, I might as well go out and perform open heart surgery
Nah.
because I looked it up on Google and I figured it out myself.
You've got a steady hand.
I have another question, attorney.
Okay, go ahead.
So, my next question, and it is a very frustrating one. If I pretty much have, if me and my attorney on, I would like to say this would have been a judicial review last year, but if me and my attorney left the court hearing under a pretense uh of urinalysis, and it's on documentation that I have to this day as that same interpretation, how is the narrative changed and why? And like, I pretty much was told after I had I call him Mr. Juicy, that's the 2021 pandemic baby. I was told that if I took a urinalysis and it was negative, bam, unsupervised visitations, home study, let's walk into reunification. Did it? Oh no, we said 5 more drug screens, and if she had decreasing levels, then she wouldn't have to do the substance abuse evaluation. That's not the that's not what we was led to have believed. That's not what's on paper that I have now, and that's not what was said.
So, what's the question?
That's that, that's the question. The question is, how is any of this possible?
Oh, how is it possible? Are you kidding me? These people will do anything they want to do. It's
Carte
your job.
blanche.
It's your job and your attorney's job to put them in check. But if you and your attorney just sit there in court and don't say anything, guess what? They get their way.
Mhm.
So it's possible. Anything is possible. They do whatever they want. The problem becomes, or the question becomes, what are you going to do about it? And if you're telling me you just got copies of this, obviously you didn't do anything about it because you didn't even have the paperwork.
Right.
No, I got copies of it. Like, the what was court ordered versus what me and my attorney was under the impression to believe is night and day. And my attorney presented this allegation to the state
Wait, stop.
attorney.
Stop. It only matters what the court order says. And if you and your attorney weren't under that impression, something went wrong with you and your attorney. The court orders are in the transcripts and they're on paper. That's what the orders are. Period. End of story.
So that's the question. If the court order and the transcript say something different, then what do you do now? And if it's been like this
You
throughout
make
the case?
you make a motion to correct the court order. That happens a lot. You'd be surprised. The clerk who's writing up the minute order gets something wrong. You know, they're only human. And the transcript says something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that many times.
How much from where I am now, how should I proceed, period, and how would be the fastest, safest way to get my children back?
That I couldn't tell you without reviewing your file. I'm good. I'm not that good, though.
I feel as if though I have not even feel, know as if though I've been extremely blunt. I definitely told you, how, as you as already have stated, you've seen, I have been a little hard headed, sometimes still a little hard headed, and have been learning the gift of shut up. So I just want my children. The money means nothing to me. I have my own individual dreams and talents that I'm trying to pursue after I get my children back. I can't even focus on writing music.
Okay. Well, Chloe, I want to thank you again for coming on. We're at the end of the show. Mr. Guy, did you have anything you wanted to add with Chloe?
No, just good luck. And I can't emphasize enough how much Mr. Davis tells everybody to listen. Just listen. Stop talking. Listen. You'll learn so much more by listening to what people are saying. Listen and focus, and you'll have a much more clearer head and picture into the situation you're in. I think that's all I really want to add is to use your own words, because I think with talking to Chloe, she's very on the run here, and she's running by some things and not just listening and observing, So I think that's really all I can say to her about anything. No questions.
All right, folks. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Mr. Guy, thank you for joining us as co-host. Chloe, again, thank you for being our special guest. And we'll see everyone tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Good night, all.